Hi, this is Roman Polanski. I got your message. I'm actually in Italy. You can reach me here at the number 39, that's for Italy. 436, the area code, 3261. You can call me here until 12 o'clock. European time, which is probably, it must be 9 o'clock. Sorry. It's 9 hours difference, so you calculate that. Okay, bye.
The subject of the Manson murders is more timely than ever on its 50th anniversary, what with the release of several major films either about or referring to the massacres. In 2019 alone, there are the following features. There's this one, Mary Harron's Charlie Says, a granular, harrowing depiction of the lead-up to the massacre and to the murders themselves. Needless to say, as you can see here, it's a very realistic, convincing evocation of the deepest circle of hell. There's also Daniel Farran's The Haunting of Sharon Tate, a novel movie that includes a satisfying fantasy showing the victims turning the tables on the Manson gang. Here you can see gang member Tex Watson being clobbered with a shovel by someone near and dear to Sharon Tate. There's also Jordan Peele's hit film Us, which seems to refer to the crime, what with its depiction of a Manson-esque home invasion. Even Olivia Wilde's light comedy Booksmart makes a reference to it.
Oh my god, what the fuck? What the fuck is this?
You ain't asked no questions!
Oh my god. Oh shit. Is this some Manson family shit? What is this?
No!
And, of course, the big kahuna is Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, wildly praised at the Cannes Film Festival in 2019 and depicting both the victims and villains of the Manson killings. It seems as if half of the screen actors killed is playing Sharon Tate and the other half Polanski on screen these days. Before I present excerpts from my exclusive interviews with Polanski and his friend screenwriter Robert Towne, producer Robert Evans, and production designer Richard Silbert, first let me start at the beginning of the tragedy. Once upon a time in the San Francisco Bay Area, the Manson family was born right here, in fact. This is the birthplace, the cradle of it. And his first inductee into the Manson family in the spring of 1967 was one Mary Brunner, a librarian, or librarian's assistant at the University of California Library. This is basically where it all began. They soon shacked up together in Berkeley, and then the place turned into almost a kind of a white trash harem for a while. 18 women living there by the time he finished up. This is the spot in San Francisco where Manson actually met Susan Atkins, a particularly sadistic member of the Manson gang who would go on to help him kill Roman Polanski's wife. They were living or hanging out in a flop house right next door to where Janis Joplin was in this greenhouse living in 1967. By the summer of love, Manson actually landed his own apartment in Haight-Ashbury. It's that yellow one that you see right over there, where basically he and his gang stayed for about 9 months before they actually moved to the Spawn Ranch, which was a movie set near Los Angeles. And about 2 years before the gang murdered Sharon Tate and others.
5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. Miss Tate, who starred in Valley of the Dolls, was 8 months pregnant and was found in a bikini-type nightgown with a rope around her neck attached to the body of a man.
2 bodies inside, 2 bodies outside.
Among the other victims were Hollywood hairstylist Jay Sebring and coffee heiress Abigail Folger.
The murder of his wife and friends seems to have had an impact on Polanski's subsequent films, particularly his masterwork Chinatown. In the period after the killings, but before investigators found out who did the crimes, Polanski had to become something of a detective himself for the sake of his own survival, and it shows in Chinatown.
In that situation,
do you think also that your experience in, you had a personal tragedy there prior, a few years before the movie, and you almost had to become like a kind of, detective for a time there, and do you think that kind of informed your movie? I mean, did it?
Well, I can only tell you that every experience helps you, with your work. And this, of course, did to a certain degree, to which I am unable to tell you how much better the film is, because I had certain things happening to me. Whatever you do, you learn, and each next movie has that one layer more to make it richer. I don't know how to answer this question.
No, that's a good answer. And
when Polanski himself spoke of the massacre to me in late 1998, he referred to it as, quote, that thing that happened to me, unquote, and his voice sometimes dropped to a depressed tone. Here's an excerpt from my interview with him.
The story about the origination, about the evolution of Chinatown is that Jack Nicholson, gave you a call in Rome in '73 and said that Bob Town had written, this really great script, and you said no. But then Robert Evans called, and you said yes. What is it that Evans said to change your mind?
Well, it wasn't like that, exactly. I mean, it was not just 2 calls. I don't remember how many times. Sorry.
Okay. Now,
the thing that I remember is that I just didn't want to go to Los Angeles. I had two vivid memories of all those events of '69. I didn't feel like going to work there.
That's right.
Besides, it wasn't only that. I really felt happy in Rome. I was working there, and I had a great house and a bunch of friends with whom I worked, and it was just, it wasn't interesting to me to go to make a film in Los Angeles.
Polanski had no better friend in the U.S. at the time than Oscar-winning production designer Richard Silbert, who spoke to me in '98 and '99 about how he and Roman tried to solve the Sharon Tate murder mystery themselves back in the fall of '69.
We had to do something Roman had to do. Roman's wife was murdered 3 years before. He knew one thing: the girl dies.
It seems like he really pushed for the unhappy ending.
The girl died. That's what happened to his wife in Hollywood.
Do you think that his detective experience in the year before they found the killers of his people,
He lived with me.
I'm sorry?
He lived with me all that time.
Really? That's fascinating, because do you think that informed this work? In other words, it made him more of a detective to think in those terms, of,
Let me put it this way. We sat around thinking anybody could have done it, because he has no idea it would be out in left field like that,
Right.
So it was, hey, I wonder which one of our friends did it.
Right.
It was, after all, Terry Melcher.
Right.
They were living up there. And that's where the trouble started. Who would connect that? The fact that Manson wanted to sell some music ideas to Terry.
Oh, so that was...
He went up there to kill Terry Melcher.
So it was such a left field thing that you were...
No, Roman would sit around, Roman and I traveled around the world. Not around the world. Around the Bahamas for months, working on a project we knew we would never make, which I made 3 years later. But we traveled around, the two of us, thinking, I wonder how we could have done this. You know, the police, you know, it's always some kind of left field thing, you know. It's amazing that they killed these people in the valley. Nobody connected the two together at that point. And finally, by accident, they ended up at the Swan Ranch. Who the fuck knew that, you know? But I don't think it made a detective out of him. I just think he was always a brilliant director who needed the best materials, the best people around, and the best cast, because without it, he's going to make pirates.
The crimes also likely helped the director bring an unspeakable level of evil to life in Chinatown. Screenwriter Robert Towne credits Polanski with making the evil seem so real.
That without Roman and John's sense of evil, being able to make that credible, the sense of corruption would never have gotten off the page.
From Rosemary's Baby on, you know, I mean, you were on board with him. Describe him.
He's self-educated, brilliantly read, photographic memory, and knows exactly what he wants. Whether it's right or wrong, he knows exactly what he wants.
Somehow I get the feeling that if Roman Polanski, who fought off the Nazis literally when he was a child, had been home on that August night, he might have been able to somehow turn the tide against the invaders from the Manson family. But, of course, that's just speculation on my part. By the way, you might be wondering, how did I ever manage to score an interview with Polanski in the first place? After all, he is a fugitive from justice in the U.S., having fled after being convicted of a sex crime in 1977, so he isn't exactly easy to reach. Well, first I contacted Paul Silbert, who is an art director in the movies, who directed me to his brother, Richard Silbert, who seemed so impressed with how much I knew about Chinatown that at the end of our conversation he asked, "You want Roman's number?" Here's the moment when that happened.
Roman, it's a pleasure to make a movie with.
Well, I'm trying to...
He's so good.
I'm trying to reach him for this, but I'm having very little luck, but...
Why? He's doing a movie, I think, now, in Paris.
Well, I'm actually faxing Paris and trying to...
You have his phone number?
I don't.
Here they are. And I have 2 numbers, 8974, and
I see.
he's got 2 kids now, so it may be, you know, a couple of phone numbers.
Well, that's great. I mean, hopefully I can reach him because...
And that's how I landed my interview with him, which became a big scoop for the Los Angeles Times in 1999. Yes, Polanski has spoken about Manson to others over the decades, even calling him a mediocre songwriter, but to me he only spoke of the impact of the murders on his work. Ultimately, what Roman told me about Charlie is, in so many words, that Manson's massacre inadvertently helped to give him the uber-realist mindset that contributed to making Chinatown a masterpiece. The one big takeaway I got from talking with the director and his friends is that the killings made him adamant in the years after the massacre that his new movie not have a happy Hollywood ending, because that ran counter to his own experience in L.A. and the part of the script that he fully controlled the ending showed the bottomless pit of human evil as few filmmakers ever have.
Turn them loose. Turn them all loose.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Sorry. Hold on, just one moment. I'm really, I'm dealing here with